good news is if you're somebody that's coming to Chelsea, you can put down your roots, you can set your family up basically because you know that you're coming for a fair few years. I mean, their deals are quite long, aren't they? We can take a look at the graphic that we've made up for everyone to understand this situation at home. Look at that. Their squad, 191 years in them all. I mean, that's quite remarkable, considering that the nearest closest is Tottenham. Is this just good business sense, Kaveh? What are they doing here? Let's explain what's going on.
I think we should leave that graphic up for a while because, a lot of people this afternoon have been talking about it, sharing it on social media. It is a shocking number. But instead of just criticising Chelsea, maybe we should try and dig into it a little bit.
Yeah, understand what they're doing.
Try and work out what's going on from Chelsea's point of view. And I think what Chelsea would say is, look, we're very proud of the fact that our pool of 42 first-team players at the moment are contracted to us for a total of 191 years. I'm not laughing.
No, I am. But it does sound ridiculous when you say it. Yeah, I am.
Look, Chelsea's policy under their new owners is to give long-term contracts to new signings with low wages.
Yeah, that's the sense.
That's wages the sense, yeah. In Premier League terms. Now, the average wage in the Premier League is £72,000 a week. I think Chelsea, the signings they've made in the last 2 years, the average wage they're paying is between £60,000 and £70,000 a week, which is still a lot of money, but not in Premier League terms.
Absolutely.
Now, those contracts have incentives in them and also huge bonuses. So if you play regularly, if you produce on the pitch, you're going to earn a lot more than that. Now, the average length of contract left for the players that Chelsea have, those 42 players, they've got 4.5 years left on their contracts. Now, these players, if they perform, they get their incentives, everyone's happy. Mm-hmm. If they underperform, they're not playing, they're not in the first team, Chelsea will find it easier maybe to sell them because they're on relatively low wages, so they'll be easier to move on. So I think Chelsea see these players on these long-term contracts as an asset and not as a liability. And also, of course, having these long-term contracts, we've talked about this in the past, helps you comply with financial fair play and PSR rules, because it means that you can spread out the cost of a contract over a maximum of 5 years. Now, I'm not saying this is all my point of view, but I'm just trying to say that you have to try and understand what Chelsea are trying to do, understand it, and then have an opinion on it. Then say it's ridiculous, they don't know what they're doing, but try and understand what's going on first.
Yes, so you can see what they're doing, which is perhaps why, dare I say, the likes of Raheem Sterling may see themselves being phased out, the players that were on these massive wage bills, because he was on a 300 and plus a week. It's you can understand what they're trying to do. Everyone's sort of shouting that they don't want to lose the likes of Raheem Sterling, but you can understand business sense why Chelsea are trying to do this.
Yeah, I think going forward, Chelsea are not interested in having players, older players, especially having any players who are earning anything like £300,000 a week. And they have quite a few of those players in their squad, and they're trying to move them on. I think their ideal is somebody like Cole Palmer, a brilliant young player who they sign. OK, they signed him for a lot of money, I think £40 million. But then he proved himself on the pitch. Cool. He gets a new contract, long-term contract. The wages he is getting, his base wage, still fits in with Chelsea's new wage policy. But, of course, he's got huge incentives and huge bonuses in his contract. But he's tied down to Chelsea until 2033. One of the problems with this policy is what happens if you sign a player to a 7-year contract or an 8-year contract and he turns out to be not very good. He can just sit there and take the money. Wages, so it is risky. But I think the Chelsea owners would say, OK, it's a risk worth taking if you're only paying that player £60,000 or £70,000 a week. It would be too much of a risk if you're paying players £200,000-300,000 a week. But I think at the level of wages they are giving new signings, base wages, they are comfortable with the risk. And finally, I would say, I think the thing with Chelsea is everyone's got an opinion on them at the moment.
Yes, they do.
I think what Chelsea would say is just wait until the window is closed and then judge us then. Because once the window is closed, Chelsea will have a 25-player Premier League squad, like every other team in the Premier League. They're not going to have a 40-player squad, a 50-player squad, a 60-player squad. It will be 25 players and maybe a few under 21 players as well. I know they've got a lot of players on their books, but a lot of players will be leaving over the next few days and next week.
But in the fans' defence, because obviously we do get out there and amongst them and ask them the questions as well, they are concerned of the wholesale changes that it looks like Chelsea are going through, to lose the likes of the Conor Gallaghers, the people that have been the core of Chelsea. So that's, I guess, their concerns. And we can see what the business sense is, but remember that football isn't... It is a business, it's a great big business, but it's also a love of a game, and the fans have their favourites, their legends, and it feels like some of their legends, or people that perhaps they wanted to become legends, like the Conor Gallaghers and the Raheem Sterling, won't necessarily go on and be that because of this strategy.
You're totally right. That's a brilliant point. Chelsea have always had players that the fans have been able to identify with.
The Frank Lampard.
John Terry, Frank Lampard, Didier Drogba, even going further back, players like Kerry Dixon, players like Ray Wilkins, Gianluca Vialli, legends they've had at that club. Yes, I totally understand. I know a lot of Chelsea supporters. Some of them are saying to me, we've lost our identity, we've lost our soul. When we go to Stamford Bridge, it doesn't feel like we're watching Chelsea anymore. I accept what they're saying. I accept what you're saying as well. I think what the owners would say is be patient. You will have new legends. You will have new heroes, new players that you can connect with in the future. We've got a big job on our hands. We took over a club they believe was in a bad state, and they're trying to rebuild it. But look, this is hugely controversial. All football fans at the moment have an opinion about Chelsea. All Chelsea fans have an opinion about the club as well. All I'm trying to do is just put both sides of the story out there and let people make up their own minds.